Welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast, where two lifelong horror fans talk all things horror. Pour yourself your favorite drink and hang out. Here are your hosts, Josh and Jake.
Hey guys, welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jake.
And on today's episode, we are going to be discussing
1988's Killer Klowns from Outer Space, directed by Steven Chiodo.
Is that not one of the coolest fucking theme songs for a horror?
It is. It made
movie?
me think of 80s horror movies. A lot of them had good soundtracks to them.
Yeah,
like
they
theme
did.
songs.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Killer Klowns from Outer Space, 1988. I'm super excited to get into this one. I don't even know really the reason behind this episode. This is obviously a movie from 1988. So I don't think I have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it is free on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
That's where I watched it.
Me too.
I have some additions on there, so if it's not free for you, I'm sorry. It is a lot of fun to watch. If you haven't seen it in a couple years or you haven't seen it ever, go ahead and pause us. Go watch the movie, Amazon Prime. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's a crazy 80s horror movie. It brings you back if you're from there, and if you're not, it just looks weird. So go check it out. Go give it a watch, and then come back and listen to the rest of our episode. But before we get into the episode about Killer Klowns from Outer Space, what would you like to let anyone new to our podcast know?
As always, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Pretty, please.
Also find us on Spotify.
We're on there.
We're on Apple, as well as Google.
We are.
Even Instagram. J Squared Horror Podcast. Link tree in the bio. New episodes every Thursday. That was good.
That was really good.
That was good.
Every single Thursday, two lifelong horror fans decide to get together and talk about all things horror. With this podcast, we like being the most original horror podcast out there, meaning we are a conversation-based podcast, not an information-based podcast. So if you like talking the shit with horror movies, you like getting a group of friends together once you watch the horror movie, this is the perfect podcast for you.
It is.
If you're looking for information and you're looking for deep meanings and deep value, sometimes we can provide that,
On
but
accident.
majority of the time, we're just two shit-talking horror fans that love all things horror. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, please like and subscribe. Please follow us on all of our social medias. If you go to www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com, you can actually be a part of the podcast, meaning you can contact us directly to put in movie, TV show, book recommendations that we can then discuss per your request on our podcast.
Yep.
We have had a couple. If you guys know us at all, our fan requests, we mention you by name. If you don't feel comfortable with your name, we can just say a fan requested it, but we love including our fans.
We do.
Hit the website, check us out. It's unlike anything you've ever listened to, whether that's good or bad. We think you'll enjoy it to some capacity. Now, Killer Klowns from Outer Space from 1988 is a fucking shit show of a movie. If you haven't seen it, go fucking watch it. It's a hoot. If you have seen it, come on along and enjoy J Squared's version of what this movie is. So how do you feel, man? I haven't seen this movie in a couple years, probably close to 2 years, I would say. It's one of those in the spooky rotation come this time of year. It's a lot of fun. But what do you personally feel about Killer Klowns? Not without the rating or anything, but what do you feel about Killer Klowns from Outer Space, just overall?
I think it had been at least 10 years.
Wow.
Since I've watched this movie.
That's a long time.
And I enjoyed it back then.
Okay.
And surprisingly, now I still enjoy it, but for different reasons.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to get into those reasons, correct?
Yeah. What about you?
I it's a hoot, man. it's not unlike anything that I've seen, but also at the same time, it kind of is unlike anything I've seen. Meaning that like it has its own identity.
Yeah.
And
It
through,
definitely does.
Yeah, through conventions that we've been through, people fuck with this movie.
It has a huge following.
Huge following. It's definitely a cult classic. It's definitely a very fan-driven movie. I think very much post when it originally came out.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, what I wanted to ask you is do you think this movie in 1988 came across as scary? Do you think this was a legitimate horror movie for the people of the late 80s, early 90s?
No, because late 80s, early 90s, you got the heavy hitters.
You do have some heavy hitters.
You got Michael Myers, you got Jason, you got Freddy in his prime.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't think it was like a scary, like fearful type movie,
Okay.
but maybe like a horror comedy maybe.
Yeah, so I was wondering, is that what their intent was behind it? To
Yes.
be a horror
I
comedy?
mean, it's clowns that are kind of over the top and look ridiculous. I would think so.
They do
Yeah.
look ridiculous. But also, as ridiculous as they may look, for people that have a fear of clowns, I do believe this movie could work towards it being scary.
They're terrifying looking clowns.
They are very scary looking clowns.
You know it's not a person with their face painted.
No, it's
You
definitely
know it's
not
Yeah.
a guy wearing clown makeup like Pennywise was in the 90s. So this is pre-Pennywise.
Yeah, it is.
This is pre us visualizing what
Yeah.
it was.
This is 2 years before Pennywise.
That's crazy.
I know.
So do you think did it grow the fear of clowns leading up to Pennywise and then he just fucking took it on a rampage? Or do you think it was like, this one's kind of funny. Oh shit, Pennywise.
I think it's haha, this is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Pennywise. Yeah.
I mean, if you are scared of clowns, you're a punk ass. And and it's an intense, this could be an intense, scary movie for you if you're scared of clowns. Or if you're scared of aliens or tents or small towns. I guess
Or
popcorn.
cotton candy.
Yeah,
or
popcorn, cotton candy, yeah.
If the circus scares you,
Yeah.
this movie's not for you.
If the circus freaks you out in any capacity, check this movie out. You're going to enjoy it.
You'll love it.
You'll love every single second. Now, this movie is probably one of the most 80s movies. They just almost vomit the 80s into your face. And I guess it's because it's
They do.
88 and we can look back and maybe that's how it was. It's a little over the top 80s, if you ask.
It was a crazy fucking time.
Did look like it.
Imagine being our age right now in the 80s.
No, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, or you're in our 20s in the 80s. It
20s,
sounds insane.
like late teenager, early 20s would be cool.
Oh,
in the
late
80s.
teens for sure.
Yeah, that would be sick. They just look like they're all having a good time.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah, who knows? It wasn't like that when I was coming up. That's for damn sure. It's crazy because it's small town. So you have not only the 80s aspect, but you have the small town vibe.
Yeah.
Meaning they have two cops. You know, everybody knows
the
everybody's
only two
name.
I saw the
Yeah,
entire movie.
the only two cops I saw in this movie, one being one of the main characters, the other one being kind of a main character, but you find out why he wasn't quite. There's punks, there's jocks, there's pretty girls, there's party-ish vibes.
You got your standard 80s horror vibe.
You got your standard 80s, campy fucking horror shit. I mean, it is what it is. It's not bad. It's not perceived in a fake manner.
No,
that's for damn sure.
by no means is it bad. And I read somewhere that the movie, when it released, did well.
Oh, okay.
It was perceived well from
Okay.
them.
That makes
And
sense.
that they've been working on a sequel since the movie fucking came out.
Since 1988? Why
They've
have they
wanted
never
to
done
see
it?
I don't know. But I think I saw in 2018, they were talking to Sci-Fi about doing a sequel.
Oh, okay. That'd be super corny then.
Yeah.
They have late class
which is
87s.
good for this movie. Sci-Fi would be perfect for it.
I don't think it needs a theatrical. But honestly, though,
no.
with the influx of reimaginations and continuations of classic horror films,
Yeah.
there's with what we've seen through conventions and through meeting fans in horror, I'm not saying it's impossible to believe
Not at all.
that this movie could come out in theaters, or a second to this movie could come out in theaters.
It made tons
and
of
it could
money.
make a shit ton of money
Yeah.
if they do it properly.
Yeah, you get some people from the original
'Cause
movie.
Honestly, as much as corny 80s as this movie is, it doesn't visually look bad. That's what blows my mind.
Me too.
It's it looks like I'm watching people in the 80s deal with this.
Yeah, so the concept of it with the clowns from outer space, obviously.
Really?
Yeah.
That's where the Killer Klowns come from?
Honestly, that's crazy, right? But
it's the title tells you the whole movie.
The way they look, the way like their machines look, their tent looks, having that clown over the top aspect of it is what doesn't date this movie like that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. That's all it took.
Yeah.
The fact that they are killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah.
That everything can look super corny and look like it's straight out of a circus.
Because they're clowns.
Because they're clowns.
Yeah.
But what I'm wondering is, and because this movie has been around since 1988, and it is so well received, that's the word. Since fucking shit. All right, and action. Since this movie is from 1988 and is so well received in the horror community, there is absolutely no point in us walking through this movie. That is something we do not like to do anymore on the J Squared Horror Podcast. But with new movies, it's a little tricky. You kind of have to walk through shit. But we're just going to talk about shit in this movie that we either like, hate, or appreciated, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So this movie, the thing is it's correct in its like craziness. But what I'm wondering is like, is this just a planet of just fucking circuses? Like, what do you think their planet is like?
So that was,
they are killer clowns from outer space, which means they came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that leads you to believe that this is just normal for them.
So that was my thought. So like usually alien movies, they come from outer space, they land here, they take a different form.
Yeah.
This is just how they look all the time.
Yeah, like they're clowns.
They're just clowns.
But they also have popcorn and cotton candy.
Yeah, so they're professional clowns.
Very much so.
So I guess in outer space, they come from a circus planet?
Yeah, do you think it's just like is it like Ringling Brothers and Barnums or whatever that shit's called?
Yeah, that's just...
It's just where they came from?
Where they came from. They just came here for whatever reason to take over, I guess.
That's a fucking weak premise. Like that's
I mean, it 100% is.
That's such a weak idea for a horror film. That like coming from being two guys that loved the classics and that loved like the killers and even like Alien, like Ridley Scott's Alien is fucking intense. It's crazy. That was my Alexa. I do apologize. Just let me know that rain's coming.
Yeah, the premise makes no sense.
The premise doesn't make sense. And you don't always need the premise to make sense because if you perceive this movie as most of us do, it's a horror comedy, which means you can get away with some of the corniness because it's just like over the top humor.
Yeah.
And clowns and popcorn and cotton candy and a tent and like it's cool. I appreciate it. It would be awesome if like it was like part of the horror nights down in Orlando. Like if they could do something very similar because like when they're walking through the tent / UFO thing, it's crazy. Like it's advanced, but we're looking at it from 2023.
Yeah.
They're looking at it from 1988 or before because most times when movies come out, you can predate a couple of years to kind of give yourself some wiggle room. So let's call it, mid to late 80s. And I wasn't alive back then, but I imagine watching it. And then if our fans are of that age group, let us know if that was a scary movie for you or if it was comedy, if it was super outlandish, because we're looking at it from many years later. Like that technology wouldn't scare most of us today.
Yeah. And I don't think they were afraid at first of a gun that shoots out popcorn.
Yeah, and they're not scared of it very much in the movie until you find out what the popcorn is, which doesn't quite make sense, but neither here nor
what
there.
is the popcorn?
Baby killer clowns from outer space, clearly, because they turn into like vine creatures in the bathroom scene.
Yeah, so when they first shot the popcorn on them,
I thought it was like a tracking. Like I thought it was like a
because it's stuck to their fucking
But then
clothes.
he made the balloon animal dog, which I thought was hilarious. Like
I know
that's
it's funny.
like that. Like they're like, oh, how are we gonna catch him? And he's like, and then he makes a fucking. It's just like
It's also making me
so
think
corny,
there's
but it's
clearly comedy aspects. to this
yeah.
movie.
I guess that part and the way they look. They are Like I was like watching it, and like obviously I've like seen the actors and actresses that played in this movie at conventions, but like also I've seen masks and shit at like a Spirit Halloween and shit like that. But like now, part of me would want a collection of like the Killer Klowns from outer space.
Really?
Like just for nostalgia reasons. Like if you guys know anything about my collection of horror shit, it's Mike, it's Sam from Trick or Treat, it's Jason Voorhees, and it's Freddy Krueger. Those are my top ones. Like it looks great in your house. I have them in my fucking bedroom. I have them on my body. I don't know if I'd ever get a Killer Klowns from Outer Space tattoo. I'd probably get like the gun as a filler just because it's fucking funny. And it looks so like Marvin the Martian.
Yeah,
like
so
crazy.
That'd be cool. Or like the cotton candy.
Or like cotton candy could be like a filler in my tattoo.
Yeah.
But like I honestly believe it has a place in the horror community. Obviously it does. Like who the fuck am I to say that it does or doesn't?
Yeah.
That's not the point. What I'm saying is, from a fucking asshole of a horror fan, I still appreciate what they did. And I enjoyed the movie. It's not good, but it's also not bad.
Yeah, so that's where I feel about it. Like, it's not by any means a good movie.
It's like, you know, if you just to draw a comparison, the first one that popped in my head, and it's not a comparison movie like what's in the movie versus what's in the movie, but if you're just going like newer versus older, like Slaughterhouse High is a terrible movie.
I agree.
And I forced you to watch it.
You
I
did?
did a fucking episode on our podcast about that fucking movie. It's a bad movie. It's not entertaining. And it's just crazy to think that a movie that came out in like 2020, maybe 2021, I can't remember exactly the year that came out, could be that boring and that uninteresting. Whereas a movie that came out in 1988 about some fucking alien clowns that shoot popcorn and cotton candy on people could keep me that entertained for an hour and a half, hour 40. I don't exactly remember the runtime.
About an hour and a half, yeah.
Had to have been right. I think it was like 72, so maybe like an
which is the
hour and 12
perfect
minutes.
amount of time for this movie.
If this movie went on any longer, it would be one of those drawn out, typical horror, like fucking end already. But they did it well. I think. I'm just gonna confirm the runtime. I'm saying it's 72 minutes. That's what my gut's telling me, which is an hour and 12, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 128, I think.
All right, so I'm saying an hour 72, and you're saying
128.
All right, so it came out in 1988. And come on, IMDb, you're letting me down. Or maybe I'm scrolling too quickly. It was a budget of $2 million estimated.
Oh,
wow. Hour and 28 minutes.
Oh, damn right.
So I think you were closer. Yeah, technical specs. Yep, hour and 28 minutes, which would be roughly around what Jake said.
Cool.
So he won that battle. It's rare that he wins them against me, but when he does, and I'm proud of him.
How'd you feel about
bud?
The police officers in this movie?
I'm very conflicted on the police officers in this movie.
Okay.
Because I feel like the main cop, the younger cop, needed a better backstory as to why he was so gung-ho and like so about.
He was just her ex-boyfriend, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, why was he like G.I. Joe? Like it seemed like he almost was like a failed FBI agent that then got the gig of being the cop of this town.
Well, I think
because honestly, the older cop of this movie fit the town.
100%.
Like, and I hate saying that because he's a fucking bigot and he's a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he deserves everything that happens to him in this movie. But at the same time, like, why is Mr. fucking Young, fresh out of the academy, so like gung-ho on being anti that guy?
Well, that's why. He's fresh out of the academy. He wants everything done the correct way.
Yeah, and I guess that could be the simplest answer.
That's probably what it is,
to me, it seemed like he was a failed FBI agent. Like, he flunked out of fucking the academy at the feds. And then was like, well, fuck, I can be a cop in my hometown because they only have old bigot. that's it. Because you literally only had 2 cops in this movie.
Which I thought was really
for an entire town. And if you look at the amount of cotton candy blobs that are in it later, it's a bigger town. Like, that's a lot of people. But I guess not, though. Because like, if you compare it to like Chesapeake, like, fuck.
True. Yeah.
It probably
that's like,
hundreds of thousands
like a fucking neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like Yeah, my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. My neighborhood's massive. And there's probably like 20 people per household because of the fucking market and how expensive shit is. But I will say it's like the way the movie starts is it's like, and of course I already said it, you know, we're not walking through it, but it looks like a meteorite that flies over. But my question to you based off of that scene is, say you are the young couple making out in the back of the truck, you know, in the back of the fucking Jimmy 4x4.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wanted a Chevy Jimmy 4x4 when we were growing up. You know, it was a fucking dope ass SUV. Like, are you that intrigued? Are you that interested?
No. Are
the
you?
old guy with the dog, that makes sense because it was closer to his house.
It's in his backyard.
And he don't have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
But she's a very beautiful woman.
His dog, Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear. But also the girl was an attractive woman.
Yeah.
They casted her well. Because I was like, damn, I would be upset if I was Mr. Cop Guy. And I would be even more upset if I was current boyfriend who had to compete with Mr. Cop Guy.
Yeah, because she said, I have a friend who would help us out.
Yeah.
You don't want to say it's your fucking
ex-boyfriend? You don't want to say it's your ex-boyfriend, you little sneaky bit. But yeah, there's like dynamics of this movie that obviously give it plot boosts, and you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention throughout the movie, like I don't know why this was bothering me so much, but like as they're trying to survive this whole ordeal, once they're in the tent, like for the finale, we're not getting into the final of this movie, but these parts were driving me crazy because boyfriend was there.
Yeah.
Current boyfriend was there.
Okay.
Current boyfriend was riding it out with Mr. Ex-boyfriend. He was in there with him, checking everything out with him, making sure that like he believes, because he got arrested. Like he was in cuffs in the back of the cop car. Like, bro, you're lying. You're wasting cops' time.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. And then once they find the cotton candy in the Jeep, that scene was fucking stupid. Didn't make much sense to me, but neither.
Yeah, that made no sense to me at all either.
Nothing else in the movie looked like that. Like that was probably like the scariest looking scene, and it didn't match anything else because usually they just get the person. And it's not like spread out through the surrounding area. But it did confirm what they said when they told the cop that there was killer clowns from outer space turning people into cotton candy. But what was bothering me so much towards the end of this movie is that the three of them were there. So it's girlfriend, ex-boyfriend who's cop, current boyfriend who's just fucking amazing.
Yeah.
He's in there. He's fucking helping. He's not dumb. Usually it's like the current boyfriend's kind of like more stupid and like more of a jock and like doesn't really fit. But he's a fine dude. If you watch closely during those scenes...
Okay.
The cop is like grabbing her hand, grabbing her ass, grabbing her boobs. Like throughout, I don't know if it's the actor just getting away with feelskis or it's like that was part of the plot. Because if I was that current boyfriend and I just look up and I see him just molesting my current girlfriend, I don't care if there's killer clowns from outer space. I'm fucking you up on the spot,
I think it's part of the plot because when they're in the car, he like brings up, you know, them being exes.
Oh, fucking, but you...
And the current boyfriend is like, the fuck?
Yeah. No,
You didn't mention this.
I get that aspect, but like he's like touching all over her throughout the rest of the survival parts.
Hey, man.
And I would be... Dude, no, bro. I'm stopping this alien invasion, and we're squaring up in the fucking tent.
In his defense, he's probably like, hey, you know, just trying to comfort her.
No, dude. I'm
As
pretty
a
sure ass
officer of
and
the law.
boobs were grabbed. The cops don't need to be doing that.
Speaking of current boyfriend, he was in another movie we covered.
Was he?
He was.
I have no clue. What was it?
New Year's Evil.
Who was he in New Year's Evil?
The son with blonde hair.
No.
Yeah, that's him.
Was it really?
Yeah.
What a bad movie.
It was bad.
It's a bad movie.
Song was good, though.
Song is good. We love our songs.
Evil.
We
Yeah, some 80s horror movies.
Or 80s horror movies have the classics. Even, you know, just as simple as, you know, the from fucking,
Yeah.
you know.
All the 80s films.
I can't forget about my shit either, man. Like 78, but still close enough. Yeah, that shit bothered me so much in this movie. That was that, like, current boyfriend just had to watch his girlfriend basically get molested by the ex.
I think something
just because it's a survival setting. Like I would fight him on the spot, like straight up.
Bothered me a lot. Just the whole clown aspect of it. Like these clowns.
You couldn't separate it?
No, I couldn't.
Okay.
Because these clowns are scary looking.
No, they are.
They are, that's what I'm saying. So when he walked into the pharmacy.
Yeah, and people were just like, oh. Also, when he plays like he's an animatronic.
That was good. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Animatronic.
Yeah. Outside the store.
He like looks at this. It's fun. It's funny because he looks at this like gorilla.
Yeah.
Who's like doing the fucking like, animatronic thing.
Yeah.
And then he like looks at it and he's like, that's an easy way to blend in when I'm 8 feet tall and look like a clown. Their like ability to think on the spot or think on the fly is probably one of their most impressive characteristics as aliens. It almost proves that they are from another world because they can think that quickly on their feet.
Yeah, they are very intelligent.
Everything that they do. So like that whole part, like where they're attacking the town, everything actually makes sense. Minus the T-Rex shadow puppet thing.
So
what the fuck?
There's 2 scenes I enjoyed. That.
Okay. Which one?
I'm not sure how that whole shadow shit worked.
You liked it?
I did.
I hated it.
I did like that, and I liked later on when he has Mooney as like a puppet.
Bro, I was going to get into that. But what I loved the fact that they would just like deliver a pizza. And like, once again, like this girl had no reason on being this attractive.
You open the door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No reason. I don't know how this movie pulled off the most attractive female cast that I've seen in an 80s horror movie, but they did. But also, it's like, she was probably like the producer's daughter and was just like, just talk. Like, just go. We're going to have this guy show up in a costume and you're going to be like, pizza, huh? And then it gets you with the cotton candy gun. But it's like, also, there's like the funny, this was it's so crazy to me. This was Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah.
And yet, there's an identical scene where this clown rolls up on a like small ass motorcycle. It's like this motorcycle club guys, and they're all fucking hoorah tough, and they're look at your little bike, you're a little bitch. Like, what are you? He's like, what are you gonna knock my block off? And the fucking clown decapitates him with a punch.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is crazy because like you can take aspects of this movie out of this movie and put them in other horror movies, and those scenes are iconic and like memorable for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And yet, when you think about a horror icon punching someone's head off, you're probably gonna go to Jason Takes Manhattan in that scene. Yet, Killer Klowns from Outer Space did it how many years prior?
A year.
So clearly, you guys are just a bunch of copycats with Friday the 13th, and you love using shit that's already happened to benefit your movies.
We used to do it better. That's fine.
I don't care, but to do it better after the fact is one thing. To do it better prior to the fact is iconic.
You didn't do it better prior to the fact. That's why it had to be redone.
But I'm saying, if you do it better prior, it's iconic. If you do it better after, you're just a fucking copycat. And Friday the 13th is just going to have to deal with the fact that you guys are just the copycat franchise.
If no one thinks about it, you didn't do it better.
You just have to consume all of the horror in order to make your arguments.
If I had to do research to know you did it, you didn't do it that well.
That's one of your most valid points I'd say you ever made on the podcast.
The first clap. Thank you.
What?
Thank you.
Yeah. I can't believe I found that button that quickly. I love that. But it is interesting to me that two such similar in their like just what they are scenes, but then what you get via each movie is crazy to me. Yeah. And I didn't even think about that prior. Like that just popped into my head during this.
Yeah.
Julius is an iconic kill scene, which is probably talked about.
It's a good kill.
A lot more, but it's way more intense.
Yeah. Is there a kill from this movie that sticks out to you?
Yeah, definitely the Moody. Is that his name?
Moody, yeah.
Sheriff Moody.
Mooney, one of them.
Moody. But also like his whole character dynamic. So he's like this piece of shit old cop that thinks he's trying to be like forced out of being a cop because like he's a piece of shit and he knows it. So, oh geez, I looked at that light and there's no holding that one in. So throughout this whole movie, you realize like there's these two like punk kind of looking guys that come in, and he's like, "You guys are what's wrong with the town," and, and all this stuff, and like somebody that has identified. Ew, I take that back immediately. Somebody that has always been more into more outcasty type shit, and more like not the status quo, if you will. You watch this, and obviously in the 80s this was a big thing, and like you can watch Stranger Things with Eddie, and like you see all this stuff, and like if you're wearing the dark clothes, you have the crazy hair, you have the painted nails, you have the fucking makeup or whatever you're wearing. And these kids are like, bro, we were walking back to college with a bottle of wine. He's like, drunk in public, resisting arrest. Like all these crazy charges that like they're legit, but still like they obviously weren't doing anything that bad. And that's when you see the dynamic of old cop versus younger cop. And you're
also, young cop did nothing.
Young cop was a bitch.
Yeah.
He's a bitch. He has no backbone.
But it's weird.
He's obsessed with his ex.
Yeah,
it's just like you're a punk.
Yeah.
Like honestly, none of the cops in this movie are fucking like you should pat on the back. But Moody, whatever the fuck his name is, later on during the movie when he's getting a bunch of phone calls from all sorts of different people throughout the town, he's like, they're going for my job. They're trying to get me to retire. They're trying to drive me crazy. And people are like, yo, clowns are like taking people. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, come help.
What I thought was like when the guy from the pharmacy called, he was going to be like, oh shit, this is real. But he's like, I got him too.
Yeah.
And then when the younger cop calls him and he's like, this is real, call the state police. It's like, no. I did like that part because he's like, nah. Like, you're just a part of this whole scheme. And the people he's blaming are the ones that are currently locked up in the jail cell.
He goes, is the entire town in on it?
They're all trying to get me out of here.
No,
dude, that makes no sense. They didn't have cell phones.
You don't matter that much.
Like, if it was today, like, it's almost believable. Like, you put out a tweet and it goes fucking viral.
Yeah.
Cool. This is the fucking 80s, bro. Like, the technology wasn't quite there yet. When he finally gets attacked by the killer clown from outer space, it's a bigger killer clown from outer space, and he's all like, oh, this is crazy. I don't know how he doesn't believe it. He thinks somebody's in costume, which doesn't make sense because they're fucking 8 feet tall. He puts it in handcuffs. It pops its fucking hands off, and he's still like, meh, this is crazy. And then he puts it in a jail cell. Then he, just to show how big of a piece of shit he is, he waits until it turns back to him, and he bashes it in the head with his fucking Maglite flashlight. Fucking 14-inch flashlight. Probably weighs every bit of 8 pounds. And the fucking killer clown from outer space, fucking exorcist of Emily Rose turns around in this bit. And then chokes him through the jail cell with the, like, flower petal thingy. Like, turns into an arm almost. And you're like, okay. And then the two punk rocker, like, more angsty characters look at him and go, what are you in for? And it's like...
So he killed them, right?
He did, because remember when the younger cop comes
the arm
in, falls out and has all the jewelry on?
Oh, yeah.
That was the taller guy. Almost with the Flock of Seagulls haircut.
His hair was bad, though.
His hair was really bad.
His hair was receding quite a bit.
Quite a bit. He was also supposed to be perceived as a teenager. He was probably every bit of 40. We've talked about this before. These 80s movies love casting people 20 years past their prime to play teenagers.
They do.
But then, like Jake said earlier, you kind of fucking spoiled it for me, but whatever. I'll mention it again. The cop comes in, and Moody, or whatever, is perfect bloodlines down his mouth to where he looks like a ventriloquist doll, and the fucking killer clown from outer space is puppeteering him from the inside. Super sick scene. Super cool kill. I love it. I think it's probably the best, most original part of the killings of this movie.
Then you find out they can do voices.
They can change their voices, because when they go after the pretty girlfriend, ex-girlfriend of the cop, bitch, who plays the fucking field, obviously, it sounds like her current boyfriend when he knocks on the door. Like, she knows she's getting felt up, and she's just all about it. Like, I don't like her anymore.
I don't think she, I think she was good with her current boyfriend. Although she did introduce him as just
friend,
a dude she went to school with.
Like what the fuck? Like we were just making out in my Jimmy 4x4. Also, what's really funny is when they pull up to the police station, they hit a curb, a cop car, and I get they're scared because they just like witness like aliens. But the cop was just like, hey, and then he sees his girlfriend, and he's like, what's up, boo? Like, what you got going on? I'm like, dude, this is so fucking stupid. It didn't add to the plot at all. I guess it did though. But to me, it took it away from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dynamic of he's probably not going to really trust the current boyfriend.
Yeah, which plays into their whole moments when he sends her home. But she gets attacked by popcorn. Like we mentioned earlier, we had the popcorn vine alien things. One of my favorite parts when the killer clown knocks on her door and sounds like her boyfriend. Like, come on, it's fine. Like she opens it, it's like fuck no, closes it, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things. These clowns are so fucking funny. I think this is why it's a horror comedy. Okay. She goes to jump out of the window.
Oh, they're standing out there.
And they're standing out there with a trampoline, like the saving trampolines, and they're all wearing tiny plastic firefighter hats. Where the fuck could they have possibly gotten these? I don't know. It's so funny that they're just that funny of killers.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of takes you away from the, like, it has to be perfect. It has to be, like, scary to just, like, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's a lot of fun, man.
It's a good time,
It's one of those movies that you can watch with almost any age group. There's nothing vulgar in the movie.
No.
Well, I'd say one of the most vulgar things that happen in this movie is when the clown pulls his hand out of the cop and it's bloody. Other than the bloody arm popping out of the cotton candy egg and the one face you see, like there's not a lot of blood.
Yeah. So
there's zero gore.
So they put them in the cotton candy to suck their blood?
No, it melts them. It melts them into a gook so that they can drink it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Okay.
Because everybody that you see when you just peel off the cotton candy are starting to like deteriorate. You know what I mean? Like they're covered in red. They're like bloody. So I think it's like deteriorating the human composition into a drinkable liquid. So it's like,
okay,
making you a smoothie almost.
Okay.
But like, why did you have to put it in cotton candy eggs that look like Lucky Rabbit's feet?
Yeah, because they're clowns.
Because they're clowns.
Yeah.
Killer clowns from outer space. But with K's, do you think there's a meaning?
No.
Do you just think there was like killer and they're like, we can't go with C now. We got to go with K. Killer clowns from outer space. Or is it because they're outer space clowns that it's spelled differently?
No. Just clowns.
That's it. That's why. You can't spell it with a C. Because clowns, C-L-O-W-N-S.
Because they're not regular clowns.
They're Earth clowns. So you had to go killer clowns from outer space.
I don't think so. But
because they're outer space clowns. I'm a fucking genius, Jake, and you won't let me have this.
Do not think that's it.
That's got to be the reason. That's the only reason. It's not because it looks better on a movie poster. That's stupid. It's because they're alien clowns, and you can't spell it the same as Earth clowns. I love being right sometimes.
Whatever those times are.
They're not always great times, but when I have them right, I'm happy.
You have a favorite character in this movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nobody impressed me enough.
I like the two dudes in the ice cream truck.
I hate them. I hate them
really?
with a passion. I hate them with a passion.
They were good. They were a good time to me.
No, I know why you like them, and I'm not going to go on microphone right now and tell everyone in America why you think that. If anybody knows Jake on a personal level, you will understand why Jake fucks with the ice cream guys.
Yeah, they were a good time.
They were not.
Also, towards the end, when they're in that final battle against that thing that
fucking whatever that was
came down on strings.
Yeah, it was like an alligator clown.
It was weird.
That was definitely a cake.
When they asked him to get out, like, no, it's a rental. I was like, I get it.
That's not why you like them, but I'll accept the answer.
Thank you.
There's just, in this movie, so you find out that the one cop, when he defeats the ventriloquist killer clown, realizes right then and there, if you shoot them in their nose, they're gone. They're dead. They like turn into like a Sims character and like a green diamond.
Which is such a weird way for them to die.
It's a weird way for them to die, but they're just trying to oversell the fact that they're killer clowns from outer space and they're aliens, which is fine. It's an over-the-top movie to begin with.
Yeah, but I don't think, why would you put the way to defeat you right in front of your fucking face?
Because it's a clown. And it's like a honka. Like, it makes sense. Like, I'll give him that. But also, I then lose all interest in these things being dangerous at all.
Really?
They're too easily defeated. Like, I agree with you that that's a stupid way for them to die.
I mean, it is.
It is. But also, if I'm a cop, I've now saved the world. Like, the fact that this movie can go another 30 minutes of them running and hiding from these things.
Sure.
Bro, just go poke them in the nose.
Just get
because you find out when in the final, he just stabs it in the nose. The big fucking gargantuan alligator killer clown from outer space thing that's 10 times the size of any other fucking killer clown that's existed.
Yeah.
He pokes it in the nose, it fucking disintegrates, and then it fucking destroys the everything. It's a very piss poor reasoning. Like, do I understand why they went with it? Because it's like a nostalgic, everybody knows clowns have like over exaggerated noses. I think that's the only reason they went with that. I wouldn't go through the rest of this movie having that information, being scared of them. That's what I don't understand. You are a trained cop who is over the top about the books or about the rules and about being like a good shot, and you're still piss poor shooting everybody in the chest and shit. Bro, aim for the noses.
Yeah.
He's got the shotgun that runs out of ammo because everybody in the world knows shotguns don't have a lot of fucking ammo. You have a 6-shooter on your hip. That's at least 10 clowns down. And you're still running and hiding through this maze of a tent of an alien ship. Just stand up and be a fucking man and shoot as many of them in the nose as you can.
Well, unfortunately, the movie has to continue.
Yes, the movie has to continue, but like also, instead of going about it in a still fearful way, they should go about it in a survivor way. Like, I know how I'm going to defeat them, not, I have to go save the girl from the random balloon she got put in. Like,
Which he also shot.
Yeah, he shot everything.
Which I thought was very interesting.
He was like, fuck it.
Because he tells him, you might hit her. He said, stand back.
Stand back. I'm trained. I can't shoot them all in the nose, but I can shoot this balloon in the perfect place to where she falls out of it.
Yeah.
But also, why did they save her? No, that sounds stupid. I didn't mean to ask that way. Why was she put in a balloon?
Why did the clowns not just put her in the...
Why didn't they eat her? Because she looks more delicious than anybody else in this movie.
I would... I would think just for the movie to continue.
If you can slip in that wet comment the other day, I can sleep in this one. Yeah, I mean, yes, the movie has to continue, and it's only an hour and a half, so we barely have a movie to go off of. But the last bit of this movie was a waste of time.
I agree. It was.
It really was. If you didn't find out that he figured it out that early on in the movie, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But he did. He found out exactly how to defeat them and still ran around scared shitless.
Yeah,
if he
had like just found out, like he had just shot.
If he found out in the tent,
yeah,
I'm cool with that. Like, the movie makes sense. But you found out when you were pissed off about Moody or whatever his name is. So it's like, whatever, dude. And then like the state cops show up, and then like the fucking UFO turns into a dreidel, and it's like cool, and it's super shitty. It's the worst CGI in this movie, and it's like, I'm not pissed. Like, I'm not as mad as I am about the fact that he was still scared of these killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah,
and like the ice cream guys were cool. Like, they had their little moment with the girl clowns. The tits kept getting bigger, and like I get that part. Like, they were super horn dogs, so it was cool. And then, you know, they got the explosion. But the thing that, you know, do you remember the guard that gets melted by the pie?
Yeah.
So when the movie ends
those
and
same
it
pies,
explodes, right? They got hit by pies. Why did they not melt? Like,
I don't know.
That should have been the like final hoorah of the Killer Klowns from outer space, is because the people got hit by those pies and then melted.
Yeah,
but it was just like, like that's the movie, folks. Like, that was it. He killed the alligator 10-foot clown. Yeah, it was just irritating. Like, why show the security guard getting melted into an ice cream sundae by pie when the people at the main people of the movie get also doused in pie at the end of the movie, and they more than likely survive. Now, we don't know that for sure for not, but they also didn't melt right then and there on the spot. So,
true. I mean,
I'm going with my gut here. That was a plot hole.
One pie apiece, so it didn't affect them that much?
Yeah, you had to have 48 cherry pies thrown on you. Which, the movie's fine. It's fun. It's a hoot.
Yeah.
There's nothing really else to talk about with this movie.
No, I think we're done.
On a scale. Sorry, everyone's ears. From 1 to 10, Jake, what do you rate 1988's Killer Klowns from Outer Space?
On a scale from 1 to 10.
I'm actually very interested in your rating of this.
This movie is a 6.5.
Fucking perfect rating, Jake. Congratulations, bro.
Thank
we
you.
officially agree again. I give this movie a 6.5.
Boom. Okay.
A solid stamp of agreement of the J Squared Horror Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that deserves a round of applause. Thank you so very much to all you fans out there that listen to us every fucking week. We appreciate it greatly. This was a lot of fun. This movie's a lot of fun. If you got to this point, you either decided to watch it or you didn't. Whichever you decided, we hope you enjoyed our content on Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Big shout out to our main supporters, Jeff Balance, who does our design work, Lucky Riggs, who does our intro and our outro music. A big shout out to Jake for being my personal favorite co-host.
Thank you.
He is the greatest. You guys enjoy him. I enjoy him. He's a beautiful specimen of a human. Just look at the polo shirts he wears. Jake, would you like to tell everyone what your polo shirt is for this week?
So I've worn this shirt a couple of times.
You have, but I didn't know the story behind it.
This is from the Happy Gilmore collection.
Oh, I kicked the camera.
Since recently Bob Barker passed away.
Rest in peace, Bob Barker.
So I thought I'd wear, in tribute,
He got as close to 100 as he could without going over, and we respect you for that, Bob. We really do. All of us Price is Right fans out there. I used to have to watch it when I stayed home from school on my bunny ears.
Yeah, me too.
So I love it. Drew Carey, you wish you could be Bob Barker.
You wish.
You wish. You belong on the Whose Line Is It Anyway? That was your show. You did your thing there, bud.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Great show. I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway? The original ones, not the when the girl took over and shit. No offense to the girl.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a woman
It's
versus
just-
man
it's
thing.
just
It was just a
not the
way
same.
better show.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this right now. We just confirmed next week's episode. I don't necessarily know how to explain what we are finally
I was just
doing.
thinking that too.
All right. I know we let you guys down possibly when we talked about having some directors on, but shit happens. Scheduling conflicts happen.
It's life.
It's neither here nor there. We're all people. We're all living our lives. We all have families, children, and jobs that get in the way. We've had to change things because of our life and things like that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we have some very exciting news for you guys. For the first time ever, the J Squared Horror Podcast will have an in-person interview episode with C.I.I. Jones, a local horror author from here in Virginia. We are super excited. You guys calm down. I know, it's exciting.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. We are super excited to have Caleb Jones, a local horror author, on the J Squared Horror Podcast. Me and this guy go way back. We used to work at a coffee shop together. We've both lived our lives, continued our lives, and somehow have met back through horror. I have a horror podcast here with Jake, and he has his own line of books. If you guys are excited about it, let us know in the comments down below how excited you are for us to finally have somebody, not only to interview, but in person. We are going to be hanging out with somebody else just as deep into horror as us. You just won't have our two beautiful faces on the camera next week. You'll have a third person on there. We are super duper excited.
It's going to be fun.
Caleb Jones, thank you so much, buddy, for being willing to come on the J Squared Horror Podcast. I know we're a bit of a shit show most weeks, but we are super excited to finally get into this aspect of the podcast. We've been talking about it for 6 months to a year at this point. So we are super, super, super excited. Next week, Caleb Jones, CII Jones. I think he has 3, possibly 4 books out. I know he has 3 for sure because I bought all 3. Have I read them? Nope. I don't know how to read. But I do support my local people. I'm super excited. He has a new book coming out at the end of September. We are super excited. And we're going to have him on the J Squared Horror Podcast.
In person.
In person.
Nice.
So we are super excited. Any other news for the fans, Jake?
I got nothing.
You do. Think for just a second.
Let me think for a second. Well, maybe important to our fans. Are you referring to next weekend?
Next weekend.
The
What are we doing next
Tidewater
weekend?
Horror Convention?
Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, from September 8th to September 10th, the J Squared Horror Podcast will be at the Tidewater Horror Convention. We're going to have a table. We're going to have our mics. We're going to be available for on-the-spot interviews with our fans or random people from the convention. We are super excited to be a part of this. It's the biggest horror convention to our local area that exists. We are super happy that we get to be a part of it. And there's going to be amazing guests. There's going to be amazing people in there. Horror conventions built this friendship. They helped spawn this podcast.
Yeah.
It's something near and dear to me and Jake. So if you guys at all want to spend fucking $40 for the weekend, shut the fuck up and come to the Tidewater Horror Convention. There's no reason not to. Do you like spooky shit? Do you like meeting famous people? Do you want to meet the J Squared Horror Podcast? Then come to the Tidewater Horror Convention from September 8th to September 12th. 10th, Jesus Christ.
12th.
September 8th to September 10th. It is in Virginia Beach / Norfolk. It is right at the border. We are super excited to be a part of it. We'll be there all weekend. If you guys are excited about that, let us know in the comments if you want to come. We'll be there. Yeah, we talked about next week's episode. That's it, right?
We're all done.
Damn right. Thank you guys so much for being part of the J Squared Horror Podcast. My name's Josh.
And I'm Jake.
You guys have a great weekend. Always remember, it's hip to be squared.